In the news this week, Asher's Baking Company will appeal last week's judgment, the Scottish Parliament has voted against assisted suicide, and controversial anti-extremism plans have been outlined in this year's Queen's Speech. Hello and welcome to this week's news bulletin from the Christian Institute. The owners of Asher's Baking Company have announced plans to appeal last week's judgment that went against the business. Judge Brownlee ruled that the MacArthur family, who own and run Asher's, broke discrimination laws by declining an order for a cake with a pro-gay marriage campaign slogan. The MacArthur family released a statement saying they had made the decision after prayerful consideration of legal advice. As many other people have already noted, Christian beliefs seem to have been trampled over in this judgment, and we believe this only has negative effects for our society. Our hope and prayer would be that an appeal will allow us and other Christians to live out their faith in Jesus Christ in every part of their lives, including their workplace. The Christian Institute is supporting the MacArthur's case. Deputy Director Simon Calvert said they are challenging the judgment because there are wider issues at stake.
Well, it's obviously been a very difficult decision for the MacArthur family to decide to appeal, because it means that they have to put themselves through months more of this kind of pressure and this intense media interest. But they've made the decision because they know there's an important issue of principle at stake that affects not just them, but it also affects other Christians. The family certainly feel that Christians are getting pushed out of the public square. And as a matter of fact, the particular ruling in this case affects a wide range of people, because it's a ruling about religious views, about political views, as well as about sexual orientation. So, for example, a Muslim printer in Northern Ireland could be sued for not printing cartoons of Muhammad, or a lesbian t-shirt company could be sued for not printing Christian messages against homosexuality. So lots of people could find themselves on the wrong end of a legal action if the law remains as it is, if this judgment stands.
This week, MSPs voted comprehensively to reject a bill which would have legalised assisted suicide in Scotland. On Wednesday, members voted against the Assisted Suicide Scotland bill by 82 votes to 36. Those voting against the bill included First Minister Nicola Sturgeon and Ruth Davidson, the Scottish Conservatives leader. Before the vote, Conservative MSP Dr Nanette Millen, a former cancer researcher and anaesthetist, spoke passionately against the proposals.
The idea of actively and deliberately hastening death by assisting someone to die is deeply disturbing for me, and I share the view of many professional colleagues that to legislate for this would risk undermining patient trust in doctors and medical advice, and I cannot come to terms with what is proposed.
Dr Gordon MacDonald of campaign group Care Not Killing described the vote as a victory for the vulnerable. It is right that the law is not to be changed to accommodate the wishes of a small number of desperate and determined people at the expense of the rights of others. This year's Queen's Speech outlined plans to tackle extremism, which could be used to clamp down on legitimate expressions of dissent. The speech also included plans for a psychoactive substances bill, which would completely outlaw the sale of legal highs.
Measures will also be brought forward to promote social cohesion and protect people by tackling extremism. New legislation will modernise the law on communications data, improve the law on policing and criminal justice, and ban the new generation of psychoactive drugs.
The Christian Institute has warned that extremism disruption orders, or EDOs, will damage free speech. EDOs, which were announced by Home Secretary Theresa May last year, have already come under fire from commentators from across the political spectrum. Traditional marriage campaigners in the Republic of Ireland have said they fought a good campaign in the face of much opposition, following the country's vote in support of same-sex marriage. Last Friday's poll saw 62% of voters back the change to Ireland's constitution, with 38% opposing the redefinition of marriage. Responding to the vote, campaign group Mothers and Fathers Matter said it was disappointed at the result, but added, "We did far better than the opinion polls suggested. We are proud to have represented the very many people who did vote no and who had no political party willing to support their point of view. We gave them a voice they would not have had otherwise." The Church of Ireland said the referendum result will not alter the way it defines marriage. Ireland is the only country in the world to have supported same-sex marriage in a referendum. The first ceremonies could take place in the autumn. And finally, A mother who was considering assisted suicide has spoken of being glad to be alive after she changed her mind. Jeanette Hall lives in the US state of Oregon and voted in favour of the legalisation of assisted suicide there. Later she was diagnosed with cancer and asked her doctor to give her lethal drugs to kill herself. But Dr. Kenneth Stevens tried to dissuade her from assisted suicide. He told the Daily Signal news website that he didn't go into medicine to kill people.
And one of the things I remember is that I was asking you, as I was wondering more about you and more about your family, and your son Scott was in the police academy.
Yeah.
And so I said, wouldn't you like to see him graduate? Wouldn't you like to see him get married?
Yeah, that's what kicked me back. That one sentence.
Jeanette is now 70 and has been cancer-free for over 10 years.
I've been on both sides. For me, to do it over again, I'd do the same thing. I wouldn't give up.
Well, that's all for this week. For regular updates and information on all of our stories, plus much more, visit our website at christian.org.uk. Until next time, goodbye.